the idea of like, what are humans inherently? Are we good? Are we bad? What role does our mind play? It reminds me of a book by a historian called Rutger Bregman called Humankind, from kind of like analyzing studies and like from a historical and sociological standpoint, this contrast between this kind of very scientific approach to this, poem that is obviously a more artistic approach to reflection on the human condition.
Richard Dawkins comes to mind. He definitely is a defender of truth, and he speaks about things that are often unpopular, and the truth has made him more popular over time, but time has been able to do that because truth will prevail.
To be honest, it feels very Bob Dylan-y, if you know what I mean. I would love to see Bob Dylan sing this.
In the face of ugliness beyond pain, beauty defends all virtues except when human nature must answer nature's call, and humanity being most cruel. In the lap of poverty, failing greed, wealth reaches faster than nearer a grave. Human rights are buried in right and wrong, and animals dig up bones every spring. In the name of shame, next to betrayal, glory lies to fool who seems less loyal. Human diseases cure human cultures, and a good doctor saves a bad preacher. In the words of death killed by final no, life floats nowhere high before sinking low. Human unkind is still one of a kind, and a body survives without a mind.
Nature, nurture?
The worst qualities of humanity, in some sense, how cruel humanity can be, and that there's poverty and shame and betrayal, and how fickle and volatile humans can be. Even despite all these flaws in humanity, it is still one of a kind, and humans are special despite these flaws.
A sense of reassurance in this. It reassures me in a sense that yes, we are one of a kind, but also it talks about the soul of a human and what we create standing longer than than who we are. So the body dies first, but the idea stays.
Not really painting humans overall as a kind, or humanity is inherently more leaning towards the bad, and I don't like to believe that. It's better for everyone if we believe and like try to see like the good in people. You kind of attract what you see in the world, and if you believe that people are mostly good, the people you're going to see are good.
I see the absurdism in it. I see Albert Camus being like, yeah.
Well, yeah, absurdism is emptiness, but from another with another shade than nihilism. Seeing humankind as it is, and in all its glory and ugliness, and it's more raw, and there's closer to emptiness than fullness, in my opinion.
Last year I lost a human, like a really close family member, and this specific just makes me think about how life it can be really short to some extent. We just see death as something bad. We see death as something that we really don't want to face, but nevertheless death is something natural. It's something of a process, and something that we, in one moment or another, and that literally the exact moment I'm talking to you today, right now, like tomorrow can be over for me or for you or for everyone else.
In the face of ugliness beyond pain, beauty defends all virtues except when human nature must answer nature's call, and humanity must being most cruel. In the lap of poverty, fading greed, wealth reaches faster than nearer a grave. Human rights are buried in right and wrong, and animals dig up bones every spring. In the name of shame next to betrayal, glory lies to fool who seem less loyal. Human diseases cure human cultures, and a good doctor saves a bad preacher. In the words of death killed by final no, life floats nowhere high before sinking low. Humankind is still one of a kind, and a body survives without a mind.
Is it supposed to say humankind or human unkind?
Human unkind.
Human unkind.
I think I read it incorrectly. Human unkind is still one of a kind.
I like the word play at the end of the human unkind is still one of a kind, and a body survives without a mind. Pretty poignant. It's a clever way to say the human unkind, the worst qualities, are still special and still unique. And so I think it wraps it up very well. And it's a very thought-provoking poem. It's not clearly obvious, because at first you think maybe it's just talking about how bad everything is and how dreadful the world is, but a little below the surface you understand a little bit more. So it definitely throws you off a bit. So I like especially the ending of it.
Gets back to the rawness of human nature. I think the line, "Human unkind is still one of a kind." We think that we're worse than we are as humans, but I believe that most of our intentions are rooted in love. Yeah, I feel really positive after reading this, like reassured.
I wonder about the line, "A body survives without a mind." Maybe this is like too philosophical or whatever, but I find it difficult to divide body and mind from one another. I think that it's something that's like inherently intertwined. Even if you're just like a shell of a human being, you're still there, but you don't have much to offer because you don't have a mind. So very heightened.
How in today's world a lot of people just literally get a job in order to perhaps have a big profit or generate a lot of money, or just have this amazing life that they're expected to have because of the society built around them. But are you actually happy when you reach this moment in which you perhaps gain 10,000 euros a month, but you have the same monotonous schedule every single day?
You know, if this person, like you're saying, they're working a 9-to-5 job, they're not following their passion at all. I like to think that while they're maybe not nurturing their mind as much, they haven't completely lost it.
A good doctor saves a bad preacher. And this contrast is...
Even if you disagree with someone, people are still out there to help you when you need it.
Information's basically like conflicting each other, and we don't know what is being... I mean, there's so many bad preachers right now, and they're way louder, it seems, than a good doctor.
For example, atheists believe strongly in some, perhaps, ideologies, while some really religious people really stand for faith, rather than scientists perhaps stay for facts.
Ideology sometimes makes us worse as people. Not necessarily just science, but scientific thinking, getting to the truth of the matter of whatever situation it is, that saves us, and ideology is really what takes us down. So I feel like that's a strong statement, like a good doctor saves a bad preacher. There are a lot of bad preachers, not just ideological preachers, but a lot of people talk about things that they don't really understand, and it's very misleading, and I think it causes a lot of damage.
A good person saves a bad person. Yeah, that's true.
I think it also questions the good and bad and the right or wrong in a very interesting way. So a good doctor saves a bad preacher. Can we decide who's good and bad, and how do we take those stances? Who decides who's good and bad? Also, I really like the line, "Human diseases cure human cultures," because we are now in the middle of a pandemic, and I'm trying to think about how is this pandemic affecting human culture?
Human diseases cure human cultures. This one really stuck with me. Just how we need to fail in order to grow. It's being symbolic, but I know exactly I feel like I know exactly what this is referring to.
Current situation of the world, it kind of resonates with how, there's so many people who deny this sickness that's obviously there, but if they fall sick, there will still be someone looking after them, regardless of whether they believe that this is something made up by government. There's still going to be people looking out for them, even if they have contradictory beliefs to them.
Some religious leaders do preach hatred, not always they don't preach like unity or goodness, but also to like spread hate, like in...
Animals dig up bones every spring. Kind of like, what does that mean? Is there kind of like does spring also bring some sort of like clearing of old things, or is it about reflection? Animals are often making more sense than humans are, or implying that like humans that act more like animals.
Human rights are buried in right and wrong, but where are they buried at? The animals dig up bones every spring.
From my home country, the human rights are very different, where those who are poor they don't have a human rights, and those who have a backup, like they are rich, they can do everything they want, even they did wrong.
It actually reminds me of depression.
Of depression?
The last part, you get no's, you just float around and everything is like, you go from high to low.
Life floats nowhere high before sinking low. Well,
okay, life what?
Where does it float? Anywhere. Anyway, in the nowhereness.
In the face of ugliness beyond pain, beauty defends all virtues except when human nature must answer nature's call, and humanity being most cruel. In the lap of poverty, failing greed, wealth reaches faster than a nearer grave. Human rights are buried in right and wrong, and animals dig up bones every spring. In the name of shame next to betrayal, glory lies to fool who seem less loyal. Human diseases cure human cultures, and a good doctor saves a bad preacher. In the words of death killed by final no, life floats nowhere high before sinking low. Human unkind is still one of a kind, and a body survives without a mind.
In every third line is human nature, human rights, human diseases, human unkind.
Yeah, and it starts with in the face, in the lap, in the name.
Wealth, glory, beauty,
life. Oh, that's cool.
It's really cool.
And it also ends with like it all yeah, so they have a very specific way of connecting all the things.
Wow.
Betrayal, loyal, no, low, kind, mind. It's set up in 4 different paragraphs, and each paragraph has rhymes at the end of them. And the sentences flow between the paragraphs. It doesn't just end at the end of one paragraph. It laps into the next paragraph. It's almost a one long sentence rather than lots of breaks. It flows.
It's got a nice kind of flow, kind of like, was it Shakespeare's iambic pentameter type feel, where it's kind of going up and down with the stresses. In the face of ugliness, 10 syllables per line, which makes it kind of flow very nicely. It has a nice kind of rounded feel.
But it bounces back and forth a little bit between the right and wrong, ugliness and beauty. So there's a lot of juxtaposition of different contrasting ideas.
I'm very intrigued by these antonyms and by these opposites running against each other and fighting each other, like synthesizing a new meaning.
Covering our most vulnerable and our most, one would say, the parts that we hide from the world anyways. And so that's he's blocking his genitalia, and that goes with the poem, that we are what makes us the most important and special, and what is unique and important to humans that we are ashamed of and hiding.
It does have similar conflicting feelings as does the poem. Like you have this perspective of hiding, but at the same time it's like 2 hands grasping each other in a kind of togetherness. You have this strong body which has like a very fragile pose. There's a palpable tension of again polar opposites, or maybe not opposites, maybe complementing factors, complementing attributes.
I feel like there's some kind of internal struggle, but also uniting forces. I mean, there's beauty in this, what I can see, that the hands are inverted.
Yeah. They go like this.
Shame? It's your body. You're a narcissist. I love that.